going into the next part, man, we want to talk about these 76ers, man. Look, I've got nothing against the 76ers, man. I've always
No.
thought of them as a cool franchise, to be honest with you. Like, I loved the color schemes and all that, and AI as a kid growing up and all that. For them to be this bad is quite puzzling. She's and we're gonna get into it, man. We're gonna kind of do a deep dive. We said we were gonna do it. We're gonna talk about these 76ers here, man, and having a player like Joel Embiid, man, and then to sign Paul George at the end, you're like, damn, the rich just got richer.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap! Like, so we thought, though. So we thought. You sit there and you're like, holy smokes, like this is not a bad put together team, and that's just talking about those two. We can talk about Maxey, we can talk about everybody else. But man, like you're like, holy smokes, like this is gonna be first, second, or third team, not a almost second to last place team. What are you gonna say, Damien?
Think about the draft talent that Philly has gotten over the last decade of basketball that
They've
they've
really
played.
been hitting it.
I mean, Ben Simmons, who was supposed to be this next LeBron guy. You got what's his name, Markelle Fultz, who just his shot just went out of, just disappeared, and then he just became useless for Philly. So they traded him away, and Embiid, Maxey, like there's a lot of talent that's gone through Philly. James Harden went there, and it's just not working. It's like when Embiid came with this trust this process mindset, since then they've only achieved individual accolades like Joel Embiid's MVPs. That's it. They're
What
not
does that
pushing
do for the team, right? Like, what does that exactly do for the team? Like,
right. They're not pushing a conference finals, and they're definitely not touching the finals. So, like, do we still trust the
trust the
process,
process.
or do we, say, hey, we got Tyrese Maxey. He's young. He's great. We have a lot of older, aging stars that are not stars anymore. Kyle Lowry, Andre Drummond, Paul George. I mean, Paul George had a great game last night, I believe, and I'll get into his stats in a little bit. But, I mean, it's just not working. Do you trade Joel Embiid and put him somewhere else and get a lot back that you could build with?
But is his stock even high enough to get anything crazy? Like,
I think his
you think
stock
that
is high
you
because
think his name alone still?
I do think his name, because he's still MVP. When he plays, he's incredible. But Philly's not incredible when he's playing. So let me run some statistics by you real quick. Philadelphia is the second worst team in the East. They're 5 for 14. The Wizards are the only worse team than them. They're the fourth worst team in the whole entire NBA. Wizards, Pelicans, Jazz are the only teams worse than them. 29th in points per game. 29th in rebounds per game. 30th in assists per game. 13th in opposing points per game. I mean, they're just a mediocre team, statistically.
and I wouldn't even say, well, yeah, they're in the teens and stuff, but because it's about what 30 teams in the NBA, and so mediocre at best, and that's rough saying that because again, we talk about what's on that what's on that roster, what's a part of that roster, and you sit there and you scratch your head, man. Like it's to the point where Lowry calls for a team meeting, and Maxey speaks up in the meeting and challenges / calls out Joel Embiid and says, "Man, you need to start showing up. You're showing up late to practices. You're showing up late to meetings. Your ego, your head is too big. You can't even walk in the building right now. For what reason? We haven't done anything. Congratulations, man. You've won MVPs. But what have we done as a team, as a whole?"
I think he's a fantastic player, but I agree with you. I feel like you can't be a leader of a team and have that ego that you're good without the team. Like you could do whatever you want. Doesn't care. You don't care about being on time. You're supposed to set an example for your entire team from top to bottom. Do you know how many games this season that Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid have played together?
2.
1.
Oh my God.
They've played
Yikes.
one game and they lost. They lost to
You're
Memphis.
muted. You're muted.
I know.
There you
And Embiid had 35 points that game and they lost.
I think I saw something too. It's like they've only actually played on the court for 6 minutes together. Even in the same game, it was like 6 minutes.
Oh
That's-
God.
That's so terrible.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
I was say, by the way, speaking of Embiid, Embiid is out tonight versus the Magic.
Yeah, his knee's swollen or whatever. Like,
Yeah, I guess it's swollen left knee.
yeah, but then you got Paul George on the other hand crying on his podcast, talking about that he's getting double teamed.
Podcast P.
What?
Podcast P.
Well, I'm getting podcast. I'm getting double teamed every time I'm on the
I'm
court.
getting podcast.
What do you mean, dude? Like what?
Podcast.
Okay, cool,
Is he
Like-
really? I really
right.
I want to know if that's true.
My thing is, man, and just like watching them, right? So you go back and you watch the highlights. And I know highlights don't tell the whole story of the game, but you watch the highlights. You can't. There's realistically no way you can watch every single game. And I'm sorry, I'm not tuning in to watch the 76ers game, so I go back and watch the highlights. And man, the sloppy play that they have going on, Joel Embiid just unaware of people around him and getting the ball poked out of his hands. Dude is a giant, and he's letting these small guards come and just steal the ball away from him. Just hold the ball in the air. Do something. It is sloppy play, terrible turnovers, and it just doesn't look good. And between the both of them, Paul George and Joel Embiid, they're making $100 million. $100 million for
Oh.
what?
It's like they're paying for nothing. Embiid's only played 4 games this season, and they haven't won when he's on the court.
I want to go over the team stats, man, and this is crazy. And now to even think about Joel Embiid only playing 4 games, it's such a fluff number. His number, I don't know. So Maxey's leading the team in points with 25.9. Joel Embiid is at 19.8 with a fluffed 4 games. It's easy to have a high average at that point. McCain is at 16.
Wait, hold on. I would like to point out Joel Embiid averaged 30 points per game in his last 3 seasons. Over 30 points per game. So for
Jesus.
him to
He's
have
down at
19
19.
points, like,
And you've only
and
played 4
I know
games.
I know it's 4 games, but last season he played 39. 39 games.
That's it?
Yes.
Paul George with 14.4 and then Oubre with 12.7. It's not a good look. They don't look that great. Like it's for two guys getting paid $100 million, 19 and 14 points. That's fucking crazy.
That's bad.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So
With Paul George on the floor, he's only played 10 games this season. They're 3-7. With Maxey on the floor, they're 4-9. I mean, they're just not able to win ball games like this. And the stats show the locker room frustrations, Embiid being injured. And I get it, injuries are, something you really can't control. But
right.
he wasn't injured the whole entire time. He was also suspended, which is his fault. I mean, it's frustrating if you're a Phillies fan, and it's frustrating being a basketball fan and seeing somebody who has this much talent and a team that has all these pieces that on paper you're like, this team should be working, and they don't at all.
And that's that's where the frustration comes in, man. It's like you can't expect much from a rookie. I'm gonna be honest with you. You can't expect much from a rookie. And for this kid to be coming out here and playing like the way he is and expecting to be a part of something where a guy's averaging 30 points a game to where he can barely get on the court. I think the conversation needs to be had as if his name's still worth being traded.
I do.
What
I
can
do
they
think
get?
so. I think so. But I think that it's going to be such an intricate deal, and you're not going to be looking at big pieces that you think that you're going to be getting. You're going to get some smaller, younger, great players, but you're not going to get like a highly touted superstar for Joel Embiid. It's just not going to happen anymore. Not with
I
his injury prone and his lack of games
I don't
played.
think they get. I don't think they get. I don't think they get like a player. I think he's worth picks though, multiple picks.
But it would feel so rough if you're Philly and you give up Joel Embiid for picks. It's just like
Yeah, but they've done such a good. But reason being, a point you brought up is they've done so well in the draft, finding
it's
those
true.
pieces that I would trust my draft guru guy to go back in there and spin his little magical wand and pull out another diamond out there. Because at the end of the day, like, what do? You're going to trade them for what? A bunch of mediocre players?
But you know
That's
what?
not what you need.
It could also be an issue with the organization itself, and this is not me trying to disrespect the organization, but I think about to that point exactly. I think about the players that they've picked up in the draft, and all those players. Where are they now?
Yeah.
Markelle Fultz. I don't even know where he's playing right now. I believe
No,
he's on
there's
an
been
NBA team.
man. There's been plenty of busts in NBA.
Ben Simmons. I mean,
yeah.
he was getting clowned for the last few years because he couldn't even shoot a 3-point shot to save his life.
Ooh, 3-pointers. That's a sore spot for you.
Why is that a sore spot for me?
I'll go over it later.
All right, dude. I hate you.
I had a
Yikes.
graphic too, but I was like, nah, I ain't gonna share. That's messed up. It's messed
All
up.
right, let's ease up. All right, come on.
Easy. He said easy.
But yeah, I mean, y'all got anything else, man, on those darn 76ers, man? We can move past
Question,
that.
Damien, with all your stats, where are they ranked at defensively? And then obviously I can't find it, so I don't really want to talk about it. But just in case anybody in the comments have maybe seen the same video I did, that the rumors from ESPN were that they're looking and willing to trade the 2025 draft pick. I did find an article about it a little bit, and they said it's more or less because they can't control it because it was to a trade. So like, if we can't control it, let's get rid of it. Well, either way, you need picks. You're not saving your season. Let's
You
see
wanna
what you
have
can
a
get with
future.
new talent. And especially, but the reason why I brought it up, because I wasn't going to bring it up because I couldn't find the good source. But you were saying that they're actually good at getting draft, like they're good at finding good draft picks. So why not utilize what you're good at and maybe get a couple blossoms? You know what I mean? So
I think what they're probably waiting for then at that point is what we kind of all talked about was that they haven't had a chance for all three of those greats or goods or whatever you want to call them to be on the court at the same time. Can they turn? I mean, we're still talking about an early season. It's still early. Like
Yeah.
they can turn
about
around and go and win
22
like
games.
right. They can turn around and win 20 games, and all of a sudden we're talking about they're up in the top of the echelon.
That's not sorry.
Right. It's not
But it could,
going to be
yes, yeah.
easy by any means, but at the same time, it's who knows? You don't know how Maxey will be able to complement Embiid and Embiid to be able to complement George and then George to do this and all three of those pieces because realistically they would be the team that we've all expected them to be.
Hopefully.
The team that we all expected them to have. And I can understand the frustrations with Paul George on his little podcast and crying about being double teamed or whatever, because if he's only been out there and they haven't played together as a whole cohesive unit, and it's only been one game and it was 6 minutes, that's crazy.
I mean,
So
I'm pretty sure Paul George had a really good game last night too. I don't have the stats for that, but I'm pretty sure he did.
Here, I got it. I got one. So Sixers beat the Hornets 110-104. PG, let's see. Where is it? 29 points, went 6 for 9 for 3-pointers, 3 for 3 on free throws, 37 minutes. So led the team in minutes.
It's a great game.
Absolutely. It's kind of the OG PG.
I agree.
Absolutely. So here's one more question. We'll move on. You think if they get rid of Embiid or they trade away Embiid, does that kind of just throw in the white towel for kind of a rebuild at that point?
I wouldn't be
I don't
afraid.
think they're. I don't. No, but I don't think they're at a point of a rebuild. I think they're just. I think if they bring somebody else in, or they can get somebody there. I mean, I guess you can consider a rebuild because you'd have a rookie and then another. Essentially, the next year another rookie. So yeah, I guess you could say rebuild. My bad.
Fair point.
No, you can't rebuild. Actually, yeah, you can.
Gotta respect it.
Yeah, I mean,
He talked
didn't
himself
think
right
about
out of his own thought. He started talking. He's like, "Well, shit, I sound like an asshole. Let me switch it up."
It's kind of like our game picks. Oh man.
So we all good for the 70 stinker? I mean Sixers.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Sorry.
We're gonna get a lot of hate
no,
mail for that.
I think the next thing
Oh,
we
I'm
gotta
clipping.
hit